Hey, hello everybody, this is Kyle Cadena, and we're taking a look at Resident Evil HD Remaster for New Gamer Nation. This is... oh, let's go back to the menu here. This is the most recent entry into the Resident Evil franchise, and also the most recent remaster of the original Resident Evil game. So, before we hop in, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the options here and what's new in this version. First off, you have your option here whether you want widescreen or whether you want original, the 4:3 aspect ratio. So you have your options with widescreen. You're going to get a little bit of scrolling across each static camera angle, but I prefer that. For your controls, you have two different control schemes. You have the original tank-like controls of Resident Evil 1 for the GameCube and for the PlayStation 1. Or you have your alternate controls, which is kind of push in the direction that you want to run. I found these to be a lot more intuitive, so this is a nice new option. For video settings, it's worthwhile to note that this version only goes up to 1920 by 1080. So for someone like me whose primary monitor is running at 1440p, unfortunately you're going to have to downscale, but for the rest of these options here, you have your option to cap your frame rate at 30 in case you're getting not great results. And the rest of these options here we're going to go ahead and keep on high. So also here we have our manual for the game, basically what you would have found in the box in the old days. And you got your leaderboard here that'll show your completion time for your run. And not a lot of people right now because the game's not actually released, so we'll go ahead and jump in a new game here.
Resident Evil.
It's the best part of a Resident Evil game right there. So got your chance to change your options again. We're gonna roll with this for the purposes of this quick look. We'll go ahead and put on easy because I don't want to die a million times. So you got a couple different costume options for each character right off the bat, which is a little bit different than past versions. These models are more in line with later entries in the series, kind of reminiscent of Resident Evil 5. So we're going to go ahead and roll with Jill in her new costume.
Alpha Team is flying around the forest zone, situated in northwest Raccoon City. So
if you're noticing a little lag right now, unfortunately, that is the recording software that I'm using. That is not the game. So it kind of happens during this opening cutscene, and not really sure why. So
bizarre murder cases.
Game is running smoothly for me.
There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. The Bravo team was sent in to investigate, but we lost contact.
Look, Chris.
Bravo team's helicopter was a derelict. Save for the remaining body of Kevin. We continued our search for the other members, and it turned into a nightmare.
So these cutscenes are obviously from the GameCube version of the game, but it is worth noting that they have been up-res some. I didn't find it to be too terribly noticeable when doing a side-by-side comparison, but they do look somewhat better. And it is also worth noting, this is a remaster of the GameCube version of the game, which is already a remaster of the PS1 version. This bears very little resemblance to the original release from 1996. Side by side of the two is humorous. God, Jill is the clumsiest person in the history of video games. Falls down like 7 times in the course of this game.
Hey, Brad! Where the hell's he going? Chris, this way. Damn it! Make for that mansion!
Enter the survival horror indeed.
There are only 3 STARS members
So
left.
now we're actually
Captain
in
Wesker,
engine,
Barry,
and
myself. I
wow,
don't know where Chris is.
this game looks a hell of a lot better than it used to. The
What
first
is
thing that's
this
really
place?
immediately noticeable is just
Not
how
quite your
damn
ordinary
good these
house,
character
that's for
models
sure.
look.
Hey, Wesker.
They're
where's
not quite
Chris?
like something that'll be released in
Jill, no.
2015, but
You don't want to go back out there.
they're looking pretty comparable to something
But
you would
we've got
find
to
in like
find-
Resident Evil
What was
5,
that?
for instance.
Chris?
A little bit
No.
more low res, but
Jill, go and
pretty
investigate.
damn impressive.
I'm going with her. Chris and I go back a long way.
Of course, you got your nice reflections going on.
You two go.
I think it's really impressive what they've done with this version.
Stay sharp.
I think this version looks really damn good. Of course, all your loading screen doors have like a new coat of polish on them too. It's good. You'll be seeing them a lot.
A dining room.
Dining room indeed, Barry. So now we're actually running around, and so I'm using, like I said, I'm using the alternate control scheme. This is what I use to review the game, and I found it to be way freaking easier than trying to mess around with those old controls. So not age so hot. So for a moment, well, okay. So the alternate controls, basically, like I said, it's just push in the direction that you want to run. It can get a little bit disorienting with the camera angles, and some of them are not like really intuitive changes, but when you compare it with like trying to do this, it's a lot better. This doesn't feel so great. This doesn't feel so great at all in 2015. You know, if you're some kind of crazy purist, knock yourself out, man. But I am enjoying the way that it controls both the alternate controls. So of course you got your 4:3 aspect ratio here too, and there's no scrolling like we were seeing before. I enjoyed playing it in the widescreen, but again, if you kind of want the nostalgia factor, or you know, for whatever reason, you can turn it into 4:3. We're gonna go ahead and roll with the new stuff here. Also, the audio, of course, has been redone. It supports 5.1 surround sound now. It sounds really good. Obviously, a much higher audio bitrate than before. And we don't need to save our game. We just started, so.
I think you'd better take a look at this.
What is it?
Blood. Jill, see if you can find any other clues. I'll be examining this. Let's just hope it's not Chris's.
So I'll note right now, the game is running in 60 for me, but I am recording this in 30 frames per second. I don't have a separate PC set up for recording, so this is all on my main system, and the CPU would be too high of a requirement. I can't properly record at 60 frames per second right now at high resolution. So unfortunately, we are seeing this in 30, but it should be noted this game ran at a smooth 60 the entire time for me. I didn't run into any frame drops throughout the entire course of my reviewing the game, so it ran really well. we're gonna get the hell out of Dodge and let Barry handle this.
Barry!
What is it?
Look out! It's a monster!
Let me take care of it.
So I think this in-engine stuff looks great.
What the hell is this thing?
You know, I think the lighting
I found
here
Kenneth
looks really good.
killed by
I
this
think that
thing.
the resolution
report
is
this to
really
Wesker.
high on a lot of this stuff. I think that these backgrounds look really good for the most part. I think that, you know, this fake dynamic lighting here, kind of with your animated 3D objects in the environment, looks good. And of course, all this stuff here looks great. The one thing I will say about these static backgrounds is that I found in some parts of the game, like the Aqua Ring portion of the game in particular, I didn't think they looked nearly as good. I don't know why the game does that sometimes, but it won't let me go through. But for the most part, I think that the backgrounds look pretty good. It's just weird when they don't, because it really highlights
Wesker!
like how good the rest of this stuff looks. And it's disappointing that
Help
some of
me
that
look
stuff
for it.
doesn't match
Let's
up.
not leave this hall.
Good idea.
It just kind of looks like really blurry and muddy. I don't have a save in the Aqua Ring portion, but you know, there are some. There's a screenshot of it in the review that's going up, so you can check that out and see kind of the qualitative difference. We're gonna immediately run back down because good old Wesker is nowhere to be found. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but I'll take it.
Barry.
Any luck, Jill?
No, nothing. What's going on around here? I can't figure it out.
Same here.
Chris and now Wesker.
There's not much we can do. We can search for him separately. I'll investigate the dining room again.
Okay then, I'll try the door on the other side.
This mansion is gigantic. We could easily get lost.
Yes, it is.
Start from the
I
first
probably
floor.
will, just in the course of this short
Okay.
look, because
Oh, I almost forgot.
this game can
It's a
be
lockpick.
confusing as hell sometimes.
You'd make better use of it.
There's plenty of people out there, you know, if you're like a crazy speedrunner,
Thanks.
you know
I
this
may
game
need
top
it.
to bottom,
Listen.
I hear you can complete it in like 2
Something
hours,
happens.
3 hours.
Let's meet up in this hall.
If you don't know exactly what you're doing,
Okay.
and it's been a while since you played Resident Evil, it can take you a bit longer. I think it took me around, I said on that screen earlier, I think it took me around 8 hours, 9 hours, something like that to complete the game. Maybe a little bit more, like 10. A decent length, and of course you still have the option to play as either Chris or Jill, and for the majority of the game is the same. The puzzles will be a little bit different sometimes. The order in which you complete stuff will be a little bit different. Of course, with Chris, you're interacting with Rebecca. It should also be noted, like I said before, this is the GameCube version of the game, remastered. So it has all the additions of that. They're crimson heads, so if you leave the zombie bodies laying around for too long, they'll come back as harder, faster versions of themselves, kind of like that Kanye song. And also, the additions, there's some additional like enemies and boss battles and stuff like that from the GameCube version of the game that are in here. So, this game bears very little resemblance to the original release. Once again, like, she just trips over nothing. I don't... No, I think the shooting is held up pretty well for an old game. It's a little bit overkill there, but you know, I think the shooting feels pretty good for the most part. Let's see. Alright, let's see if I can remember where the hell we're supposed to go now. What do we need to do? We need to get... Ah, okay. That's what we need to do. So yeah, you know, funnily enough, I never played through the entirety of the first Resident Evil prior to this, actually. I played through 4, I played through 5. I think they're both really good games. And I played bits and pieces of the original Resident Evil back in the day, but never owned or played through the whole thing. Oh, yep, I got it. All right. I think this game holds up really well for a 20-year-old game. It's crazy to think of it. This game's almost 2 decades old. You know, these camera angles can be a little bit disorienting. Like, this really serves no purpose. And controlling it can be a little bit janky, like when you literally switch 180 degrees, what you have to press to move forward. Like that. That was not on purpose. So, it's not perfect, but it's still totally playable. And if you're a person who's interested in maybe playing this for the first time, you're not a series vet, it's totally doable. It's totally doable. Take it from someone who's in the same position. I think these mirrors look great. Kind of going back there, you can notice. You might have noticed subtly that you could see the zombie in that mirror back there. Video game mirrors, not traditionally a very high bar, but I think they look pretty good in this. And even Jill's hair even has some physics applied to it here. It's a little bit video game goofy, but it's still a nice touch. There's not a lot of nice, like, really subtle touches like that I think really sets this apart from other HD remasters. So, I think I'm supposed to go back this way. I know where I need to go, I just don't remember exactly how to get there, so. Here we go. So yeah, well, I didn't read, or rather, I didn't play the original Resident Evil. I did read the novelization of the original Resident Evil, which, hey, don't ask, it was a weird time in my life, but it's not good. It's not good. Don't spend your time doing that, it's real dumb. No. Well, this game has its charm. It is no, like, Last of Us. The story is not really what you're coming to this for. Maybe you are. It's not what I'm coming to this for. At best, you can kind of classify it as like B-movie schlockiness. It's charming. It's charming. I think this whole game is pretty charming. I think it holds up really well. It can be frustrating at times. It can be frustrating. It doesn't necessarily... The most important thing that you need to know about this is, like, no matter how much polish has been added, it is still very much a 20-year-old game, and it plays like it. That being said, it's a really good 20-year-old game. So, you can still totally get into it. I would recommend doing so. I think most important to note is this game is selling for $20 right now at release, which, like, hey, that's crazy. This is a definitive version of the game, so if you have any interest in playing through it again, I'd say go ahead and pull the trigger. I think like this looks fantastic, this dynamic lighting stuff. And they do some really cool work with the shadows. Some of the bosses later in the game I don't want to give away, even though, you know, I think the statute of limitations is up on spoilers for a 20-year-old game, but nonetheless. There's a key embedded. Yes, I will. A lot of fours in this game. Rule of fours. Going and collecting 4 objects, 4 different keys, 4 different, all this sort of stuff. And you know, this game feels like an adventure game, kind of a lot of the time, like an old school adventure game. You're kind of combining these items in like weird ways that don't make sense. Old video game logic is weird, and I'm not gonna lie. I had to look at a FAQ a couple times while I was playing through this, because I was like not sure where the hell I was supposed to go. That didn't hold up great. I think the shooting held up really well. Basically, yeah, this is the 2002 version of the game. There aren't any significant content additions here, other than what was in that version. It's just pretty much a technical remaster. These loads can be a bit annoying. I never found them to be too much of a nuisance. They're a lot faster than they were before, which hey, I would freaking hope so. But yeah. This is not a good camera angle for me to do anything. I'm not sure why that exists. But, you know, I can kind of bemoan the lack of like a Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence change in camera to where you can be able to see the whole environment. I know why they didn't do that. I kind of wish that there was something like that, but it never became so much of an issue. I never really ran into too much frustration. And here you go. Here's your iconic beginning of Resident Evil 1 moment. So that's going to do it. This was a quick look at Resident Evil HD Remaster, also known as Biohazard HD Remaster, if you're not in the US. I think they did a lot of really good work. I think this is a really good HD remaster. I think that this is the definitive version of the game. So if you have any interest in getting back into Resident Evil or checking out Resident Evil for the first time, it's definitely worth a check out. Especially for $20. So, thanks for watching this. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out now, but you can check out our other coverage. We have a review going up on New Gamer Nation. Should go up about the same time as this. Game will be available for purchase on PC, PS4, and Xbox One as of January 20th. So go ahead and check it out if that's something you're interested in. Thanks.